And here we are, once again, brought to you by Criticult, which sounds weird when you say it that way, but this is Kev, and I have Noah with me.
Yes. Noah Nichols.
Noah Nichols. The alliteration and the man with the backwards name, here to talk to you about a movie called Barbarian.
Yeah.
Where to begin? Well, we should probably first start with some facts about the movie, like how it was directed by a former whitest kid that you know, now one of the whitest men that you may know.
A former whitest?
Is that bad? I've been getting clipped out of context a lot lately, and I have a feeling it's going to happen to me again.
Can you say that? That's whitest.
He is the whitest kid you know. That's whitest. And who else was it? Justin Long was in this. Yes. I don't. You have IMDb up handy, right? Can you help me with the rest of the cast, because the actors need? I believe there was a Skarsgård involved, but the actress specifically, she needs to be shouted out here.
Tess. The main character's name was Tess, and her name is Georgina Campbell.
Georgina?
How do you pronounce that?
Is it? No, I was asking. Is it George?
Yeah, and Bill Skarsgård, who is
Bill.
Is Pennywise.
Pennywise, yes. Right. It's crazy.
Keith.
I was like, wait, that's not the one that was in The Northman, right? Because actors these days, I could almost believe it. Like, did he lose 60 pounds for this role?
Yeah, I did.
But it was his brother that was in The Northman, right? Yeah.
Yes. And the mother, which was the monster's name, was actually played by a man. Which I forgot to tell you that. Yeah, so it's a good job with the makeup and all the prosthetics. So,
yes.
Matthew Patrick Davis.
Which is very good, and probably a great point in time for us to mention that there will be full spoilers here.
Yes.
And they'll probably happen pretty early. So if you haven't watched it, I will just say quickly, I think it's worth a watch. If you stay and listen until the end, you might be surprised to hear me say that now. But hey, that's just the kind of guy that I am. Watch it for yourself so you can find the things that you like about it before I give you all of my nitpicks.
Yes.
But I would say that I would watch it. We watched it on a discount day, which is what I suggest you do. Find it at a $5 if you've got one. It probably won't be here much longer. Noah, what about you? Do you suggest this?
I suggest, I mean, you could wait till it comes out on streaming, which it probably will soon. But it's, I don't know. I think it's worth seeing in the theater. I mean, I've seen it. This was my third time just because I saw it with someone else and then on my own. And it's a type of movie that you want to talk about with someone because there's a lot to explore.
I agree with that.
And let me, before we get right into everything, the quick log line. The log line is: a woman staying at an Airbnb discovers that the house she has rented is not what it seems. So that's very kind of broad generalization.
Love that log line. That's all that it is?
Yeah, that's all that it is.
Love it.
Yeah.
Do more of that, movies and log line writers. Very good. And that was great. And I would also say, again, if you're for some reason still here and you haven't watched it yet, I would do what I did, which was to go in cold, no trailer whatsoever, because with that... Which is honestly, if you already know you want to see a movie, there's no reason to watch the trailer. Because there are things that for some reason get shown in trailers that maybe don't. The movie worked so much better for me, despite my upcoming gripes, because I had no expectations of it. So I was taken along for the ride that they wanted me to go along, despite other things that I noticed and picked up on. Like, I did get carried along for the first act thing.
Yeah.
And I was very suspicious. You know, there was a nice red herring played along early on. Yeah. And so that stuff was well done. So we're definitely going to talk about the well done things here. But yeah, I've got some issues. But yeah, so what else? Is there anything else? Cast, crew, log line. We covered all the basics. I think now it's probably time to start getting into the nitty gritty.
Yeah,
right?
let's get nitty gritty. The only thing is, well, we can talk about more, but shooting locations, 2 places: Detroit, Michigan, and Bulgaria.
That is important, actually. I do think that's an important thing to mention, because that is especially on this show an aspect that we're going to talk about. Because while this is not an indie movie, we're going to be talking about them a lot. And this has an indie vibe to it, and it was created by an independent filmmaker of sorts with Krieger.
Who's kind of struggling to sell it because, like, you read a thing that I didn't even know about.
Yes. Actually, I'll mention that briefly. So you mentioned the 2 shooting locations, and I can talk to you about how, according to Samantha Burgezon of IndieWire, Zach Krieger said that making the movie was almost impossible. He made a spreadsheet of every production company that had made a horror movie in the last 15 years and sent it out to all of them, and it being the script, and every one of them said no. Krieger told Vulture, so this is really, we're in like the inception of reporting here, and the now viral hit film. They didn't like the movie resets on page 50, which is something we will talk about. They didn't like that there's a character who's part of Hollywood.
Yep.
And they said, trigger warning here for bad words, last warning, nobody wants to follow a rapist for 30 pages, which is something that we'll talk about. It's kind of a spoiler for sure, but not really. We haven't really gotten into any of it yet. So all 3 of these I will mention now because they're going to get brought up again. These were in my notes, so it made me feel a little less crazy when I had these gripes. But then again, it also goes to show, as Noah pointed out before the show, and as this article pointed out, the hit it's done well. So in a sense, all of those production studios were wrong. Even though, on one hand, I felt right for being like, this is weird, how did this happen? And then apparently everyone else said, this is weird, we're not doing this. But then, hey, it worked. Like,
it did work. And not only were production companies incorrect because it was kind of, I wouldn't say a runaway success, it was more of like, almost like a Paranormal Activity surprise. They didn't expect it to do that well. It was number 1 in the movie theaters in the first weekend. And then it did the typical fall off. But, it did take kind of things by storm. But what I wanted to say is that a big actor turned down the role of AJ. Justin Long was not the first choice, which I think Justin Long made that movie. Without him, it would have been almost dead in the water because he carried that second act. I know people didn't want to follow, and I know they whittled that down because in scripts you whittle down on the movie time, but the first choice was Zac Efron to play AJ, and he turned it down. And
I can see why.
Yes, and it caused Krieger to rethink the role, and he offered it to Justin Long, who accepted and loved the script. So it changed everything about that movie.
And which is funny because I didn't know that, and that is great to know, and it really did. And you are right; he does carry it, despite the character that he plays, that character's flaws, and it really. We'll get into it as we get into the plot, but I can see why Zac Efron passed on that. But I also, as soon as I saw Justin Long on the screen, another perk of exactly. I popped.
Justin Long,
I was a mark for that. I was like, oh shit, nostalgia. I know this dude, and I also know him to be an actor that puts effort into his work. Now, a lot of time, and I expected the comedic element, which admittedly at times fell flat to me. There's a scene that you loved that I fucking hated. And I think
the tape measuring.
I hated it for the same reasons you love it, I think, but he played it well.
Yeah.
Like he really did. And so I do not think Zac Efron would have done well in this role at all. I think it would have flopped. It would have been bad for both of them. Meanwhile,
and it would have been a huge distraction because if we're distracted by Justin Long, people would have been really distracted by Zac Efron.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in the theater would have been like, Zac Efron, and then it would have taken away the vibe of the, like, Justin Long was believable as that kind of like Hollywood guy that made it. He broke through, and now he's kind of like low-key creepy, but he was trying to hide it.
He was sleazy,
sleazy.
And you're right. Yeah, people would have been, oh, it's Zac Efron. You know, the ladies would have been, he's so hot. He's
like, why
forgivable.
wouldn't that girl be with him?
Yeah. And instead, it makes it easy to be like, oh wow, this guy's a creep, which makes it easier, especially with the way things play out at the end, because they do lead you to think, oh, there's going to be a redemption, but you're sitting here like, well, I don't care if there's a redemption. Like this, I don't like this dude.
Characters were not likable, not even Tess. I mean, I would say that Keith was the only one that was totally pure. The only thing he did wrong was go down there. Yeah. You know, like he was cool.
Yeah, which was a great red herring. And now we can start to really get into the plot, as I'm sure we'll start to continue to add little fun facts as we come in. But the whole premise early on, the first third, right, it's kind of meant to look like, is Keith a creep? I'm going to tell you what I thought was going on up until the Act 1 break. I thought that Keith owned the property. And that the whole thing was a ruse. Now, this could be, and I'll admit it, so that way, for full transparency, I just finished, I'm halfway through my second watch through of Dahmer, so that I can review that series for this very channel. And not only that, because of when you cover things that are based on something in history, you kind of want to look at the real story, because that's part of it. Like, did you just botch the whole fucking story? So I've spent way too much time in a story about a creepy dude who was bringing people into his apartment and drugging them. So I was maybe tuned for that, but I also did feel that the movie was trying to lead you into suspecting him. I had this whole metafiction or fan fiction in my head that, Keith was the owner of the house and he was somehow choreographing this. But what I still can't get over, and I don't think it got explained, maybe, what's up with the fucking door?
Yeah, why was it?
How did the basement door keep closing?
Yeah, because that was another like red herring. Like they were trying to make you think, oh, is there some supernatural things going on here? Because it would shut. And also, when she slept or when she woke up, that sound you heard. Well, that monster woman couldn't have been that quiet, right? And he was asleep. Keith was asleep. So what happened there?
Yeah. And and that was the other part. That at one point, we're getting a little ahead of the plot here, but at one point, there's a character that points out that she comes out at night. And so, she didn't seem to be the most graceful of beings. She being Mother, I guess, our villain.
Yeah. She bursted through the fucking door. Yeah. So it doesn't make sense that she would tiptoe like it's a little boy at Christmas opening up a video game console. Like, I don't know. It's
like,
just weird.
Where did she get this Michael Myers aspect where if all she really wanted was babies, like clearly they were setting traps. Like there was that, the traps were being set. And what I think in some of this, what was cool about this was sort of like the analog fiction style of it, where it was sort of peeling back of an onion. Like first there's a creepy basement, then there's the string that everybody pulls for some reason, and then there's that creepy old room with the camcorder, which I'm guessing was something that Frank was using back in the day that doesn't quite get used anymore because he's old. But you're like, what the fuck is this? So I'm sitting here thinking, wow, Lucas is a creep. This whole thing was meant to get her down here, and her dumb ass is playing into it. First of all, you came in there to pack your bags and leave. Take a piss at a gas station, lady. This whole thing started because she just took a piss and there wasn't any toilet paper. Call me gross. Call me gross if you want.
Holy shit!
Sorry,
I didn't think
ladies.
of it like that.
I don't know the struggle. I really don't.
Yeah.
But I am promising you, I really believe that the men and the people in your life will be A-okay if there's a little bit of dribble on them panties because you were leaving a crazy house. Like,
just let your undergarments take care of it.
Yeah. Just go to a bathroom. Get out in the first gas station you see. You have clothes. Change in the bathroom.
You would dare say the inciting incident of this movie is literally her needing toilet paper in the basement.
Exactly.
And seeing a fucking rope. That is literally all of Barbarian right now.
And then pulling that rope and being like, I'm going to keep going, which is another issue I'm going to have. I put it in my notes 17 times. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep going.
I'm going to keep going.
I'm just going to keep walking down these creepy stairs. I'm going to go in this next room and that next creepy room.
And then a lot of people be like, oh, but that shows that she cares about somebody. But it's like, you don't know this, dude.
Humans don't do this.
Yeah, they don't do this. And like, and also that's a plot hole with her character, because I just realized, and I know they did it just for comedic effect and shit, but what they did is when she saw the door open up and she saw that black abyss, it goes on her face and she goes, nope. And then she sits there like, and and then she just sits there, but then it's like, okay, now I'm suddenly, now that was kind of cool that she took the mirror and then had the light reflect off and then go in there, but still, then you see that rape room or the retired torturer's quadrant, and you're like, okay, that's creepy. Then she ran up, and then we'll go on there, but yes.
Yeah, and that's just where it's like, okay, she does that one smart thing, which then to me, in effect, makes all the stupid things that she did just feel that much more stupid. Like,
yes, and
you're smart enough to do that, but you can't just use a paint can to shatter that window and climb out of the fucking basement. Like, again, never should have even been down there.
Exactly, and secondly, it wasn't like an idyllic, perfect neighborhood where she was like, oh, I don't understand why this house is creepy. The whole neighborhood and the world, the atmosphere of the movie was warning her, saying this shit is fucked up. It's wrong. It's weird. It was a bad neighborhood.
Yeah.
Even I know we came into, but I saw it before. But I would say the first 5 minutes, it starts with her in the car and the rain's pouring and she's like looking at her phone and she sees just like silhouettes of the houses and it looks creepy and bad still, even though she couldn't see everything perfectly, right? But it looked dangerous. It was not a good area. I mean, honestly, most people would have left when she went to her job interview. When she went to the job interview and she saw everything,
yeah,
and then that girl's like, you shouldn't be there.
Yeah, they would have packed her shit, which is what
Sign
she
out.
was doing.
Sign out.
And then, yeah, went to take a piss and then made just a series of horrible decisions, one after another, to get herself down into that basement. And then
yes,
staying for some creepy stranger who, again, was a good guy, but still, that whole thing was very dumb, too. Please just stay for... How about you both get out of the basement?
Yeah, because, like, what I said to you while we were watching, and I didn't realize this until I watched it with you, I was like, he said, so I don't get locked in the basement, too. Well, do what she did and just put the chair, because she did that later.
Just prop the door open with the chair. This whole movie
literally, they didn't even have sex. They didn't kiss. Now, they did have a little bit of romantic, tantalizing tease, like where she was like, I enjoyed our night, where they finally had a little wine and they bonded over the documentary, because they did that, a little fetch quest where it was like, oh, he knew the movie or the director that she was working
another reason
with.
I thought he was a killer, because I thought he was just lying about everything. Yeah.
He knew everything. Now, that dude, the Skarsgård, he did an awesome job with the whole, like, that scene where he was rambling about the wine and the tea. Like, that was a great scene.
Yeah.
Things where the movie, like, breathed, and it was like, but then it kind of descended into ridiculousness, like madness. Yeah, so I don't know. But I do have a question for you. And the question is, like, why... Okay, there were so many times where it was like, leave, right? Just leave. When she got back from the job interview, that was her mission statement. That was her goal before the night. Well, I have a job interview. I got to talk to her in the morning, so I have to stay here. And there's a conference in town or whatever, and I can't get a place, and it's Detroit, whatever. Okay, when she did the interview with the person, with the woman, goal reached. It was done. Why did she need to be there anymore? I know they were going to work, right? She
was meeting with her. She says something to the interviewer about seeing you tomorrow.
Oh,
I think there was a second part of the interview.
So it wasn't over.
It wasn't over for, it was a throwaway line at the end.
But she could have texted that woman, because she worked with her, and said, hey, you were right. This area is really messed up. Could I stay there? Do you have a friend? Because that director made it seem like, oh yeah, we don't go down that street. It was like Step Brothers, don't go down that sidewalk.
Yeah. If it was as bad as it was, it was like the woman came on so strongly at first, and then with just the most minimal defense, she's like, oh, okay, I guess. But it's like, no, if you're a local and someone's not, and you know how bad it is, you're going to be a little more like, no, listen.
Yeah.
And if you really liked that person the way it seemed that she did, that they were going to hire her, I guarantee she'd have been like, here's somewhere else you can stay. Yeah. I've got at least an option for you.
You're definitely not going to go big gulps, huh? We'll see you later.
The plot was incredibly convenient. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. She's like, well, I guess we'll have fun with your new Airbnb boyfriend.
That's crazy. But yeah, so...
And yeah, it's...
So what's your biggest gripe of the movie? Is just her doing things or everybody would do things... Even Justin Long, AJ, the character of AJ...
stupid.
Yeah, he had to sell it, but like, if he's like, okay, there's a squatter in my house, or squatters, screw this, I'm going to... Why wouldn't you just call, or just not? Why would you try to take matters into your own hands? I don't get it.
Yeah,
the whole thing.
His character, I think, was clearly meant to be stupid, but I doesn't mean I like it, and especially when other characters are being stupid, I'll work with you on it if it's a character trait, and that it's still frustrating when stupidity sets off a plot, but when it's sprinkled throughout the cast, and then you have a character whose defining trait is that he's like just shitty and stupid, it's frustrating. But yes, what he should have done was sold the actual LA house, the one that was bankrupting him. So what he was doing wasn't even helping. And then to top it off, he's dumb enough to fly to Detroit when he's got legal pending action. And again, and they make it a point to address these things, which lets me know that while writing and making this, they felt these plot holes and addressed them. And again, like you said, it could have been cut. A lot of this stuff maybe wouldn't have felt as holy, maybe if because it was a relatively short movie too. Even
it's like an hour 40.
It didn't feel terribly short to me, but I can see how maybe some other things could have been put in there. But yeah, my biggest thing really was everyone just being dumb. I really liked. I'm a big fan of that. I am a big fan of setting up like 50 pages and then boom, we're going to drop you.
Which that movie did do a good job of.
Yeah, and it was jarring, but it didn't take that long to get him back to the house. It really didn't take that long.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I get what they were going for, and I think over time I may appreciate the movie more because, it does have a it could have had a great ending, and they ruined the ending. As you said, they batteried it.
Yeah. The ending was probably the weakest because actually the first act is really cool because, and you didn't see it, they have no credit sequence at all. It just goes right into it like Scream style, Drew Barrymore. And then when she finally enters the house and you're unsure of Keith, and like what's going on. When she enters, it says it flips over and then it goes Barbarian. It shows the name of the movie, and it's the way they do it is so smooth, and that's the only entry point with credits or anything.
Oh, very good.
So yeah, you'll have to watch it when it comes out.
Yeah.
Also the guy who played the older man, the Frank.
Yeah, of course. He was creepy. Frank. Yeah, he was creepy, and that we talked briefly about it. But the flashback was great. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed that. The very unique camera angles that they worked with in
very stylish.
I liked the styling of that. And I guess the ending, I liked the swerves. I liked seeing Justin Long's character AJ revert back to being a dick.
Yeah, and he ate it.
Yeah, and him eating it in the end. That was great.
He tried to justify it like I was gonna do it. I was gonna help you. Like straight through. You slipped.
Yeah, you slipped. I didn't even get to finish doing it. Crazy. And I thought it was going to end so well just with her finishing off Mother and then...
And that's over.
Leaving. Yeah, maybe you just get to wonder. And of course, I would have thought at that point, probably, chances were that she would survive because, she took a gut shot. And the way the bodies were laying implied that the mother took the brunt of that fall.
She definitely did.
But it would have been way better to think, because it was very conceivable to think that the main character could have died, and that it's like, and I don't mean to sound macabre here, but to me that's like a cool ending. Like we always get the final girl walk. You know what I mean? We just like,
if they would have had
so
AJ
many different things.
If they would have had AJ scurry off like a little piece of garbage, like, I don't know. It maybe would have been a little more impactful because then you can keep it going.
I think people really would have hated that.
Oh yeah, he would have been. Oh yeah.
But that's okay. Like that can be. It can be an ending that makes you angry.
They teased Tess dying a lot. I mean, AJ shot her when they were in the catacombs or in the halls.
Yeah.
Like they even showed a shot after she got shot with her eyes open, like she's dead. And then, I'm okay.
I'm still here.
I'm here. I got a lot left in the tank.
I'm alive. And speaking of a lot left in the tank, I think we're going to have a lot left in the tank. We're about to take a quick break here, but when we come back, among other things, we'll be going over my long notes.
Yes.
And some final thoughts. So we'll catch you then.